Christmas Eve, little girl begged the SingleDad CEO to borrow a tree for her mom. The night before Christmas has a way of revealing what the rest of the year tries to hide. And for Ethan Hale, it arrived like a quiet storm, unannounced, unforgiving, and heavy with memories he had spent years running from. The city outside his office window glowed with celebration, every street dressed in lights and laughter, while inside the tallest building downtown sat a man who owned almost everything except the one thing the season demanded: warmth in the heart. He was a single father, a self-made CEO, and a man who had long ago convinced himself that love was a luxury he could no longer afford. Then, in the lobby of his glass tower, a small girl with trembling hands and hopeful eyes would change everything by asking for something no amount of money could buy. Before this story unfolds any further, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles that happen when least expected, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel SingleDad Diaries. Your support keeps stories like this alive, stories that remind us who we are meant to be. Ethan Hale had not planned to be in the office that late on Christmas Eve, but plans had stopped meaning much to him since the night his wife passed away. Back then, grief had come in waves so violent that work became the only place where he could breathe without breaking apart. He built an empire brick by brick, decision by decision, until success wrapped around him like armor. From the outside, he was admired, envied, respected. From the inside, he was a man who counted the hours until his young son fell asleep so the silence wouldn't see him cry. Christmas especially was a season he endured rather than celebrated, a reminder of hands that once decorated trees and laughter, that once filled rooms now echoing with absence. The building was almost empty when Ethan finally shut down his computer. The janitorial crew moved quietly, the elevators chimed softly, and the massive lobby tree, lavish, professionally decorated and perfect, stood tall near the entrance. It had been placed there by a marketing team to impress clients, not to bring joy. As Ethan stepped into the elevator, his phone buzzed with a reminder from his assistant about a charity gala he had skipped yet again. He dismissed it, pressing the lobby button with a heaviness he could not name. That was when he noticed her. Near the front desk, just beyond the glow of the grand Christmas tree, stood a little girl no older than 7. She wore a thin jacket far too light for December, her dark hair braided neatly despite the frayed ends, and her shoes looked as though they had walked too many winters already. She clutched a small paper bag to her chest, shifting her weight from one foot to the other, eyes fixed on the towering tree as if it were something holy. Security had not noticed her yet, or perhaps they had chosen not to. There was something about her stillness that demanded respect. Ethan paused. In all his years of running companies and reading people, he had learned to trust the moments that tugged unexpectedly at his attention. He stepped closer, not as a CEO, not as a man in power, but simply as a father who recognized loneliness when he saw it. The girl looked up at him, startled at first, then hopeful, as if she had been waiting for him without knowing why. She did not ask for money. She did not ask for food. What she asked for, haltingly, bravely, with a voice that carried both fear and determination, was whether she could borrow the tree, not buy it, not take it forever, just borrow it for one night for her mom because her mom had been sick for a long time and loved Christmas. And this year there was no tree at home. She promised it would come back. She promised to take care of it. She promised everything a child thinks matters when the world feels too big. Ethan felt something crack open inside him. The request made no sense in the way adult logic demands sense, but it made perfect sense in the way love does. He learned, slowly, through fragments and gestures, that her name was Lily, and that her mother worked cleaning offices at night until her illness made even that impossible. Christmas had always been their favorite day, the one day her mother smiled no matter how tired she was. This year, Lily had decided she could not let Christmas disappear, even if she had to ask a stranger for help. The rules of the world Ethan lived in said no. Liability, property, procedure. The rules of his heart, long buried but not dead, whispered something else. He looked at the tree, tall and glittering, surrounded by wrapped boxes meant for show, and saw how ridiculous it was that abundance could stand so proudly while a child begged for beauty. What followed was not a dramatic decision but a quiet one. Ethan called off the elevator, motioned for security to stand down, and made arrangements that would later confuse half his management team. The tree was carefully removed, loaded into a truck, and driven across the city, not to a mansion or a charity event, but to a small apartment building with peeling paint and dim hallways. Ethan followed in his own car, Lily beside him, holding the paper bag that contained a few handmade ornaments and a string of lights with more missing bulbs than working ones. The apartment was small, but it was clean. The walls held framed drawings, faded photographs, and a calendar with the days crossed off carefully. Lily's mother lay on a couch, blankets pulled tight, eyes tired but kind. When the tree was carried in, her expression changed in a way Ethan would never forget. It was not shock or disbelief, but something softer, something like relief, as if the world had finally paused long enough to see her. That night, Ethan stayed longer than he meant to. He helped set up the tree, watched Lily hang her paper ornaments with pride, and listened as her mother spoke about Christmases past, about how Lily had always believed miracles were just kindness wearing a disguise. Ethan thought of his own son at home with a nanny, asleep in a house filled with things but missing moments like this. The weight of that realization sat heavy on his chest. Over the following days, Ethan could not shake what he had felt. He visited again, bringing groceries, then medicine, then simply himself. He learned that Lily's mother, Maria, had once dreamed of opening a small bakery, that she had raised Lily alone after her husband died in an accident, that strength did not always look like triumph. Ethan shared pieces of his own life, the loneliness of success, the fear of loving again, the guilt of being emotionally absent, even when physically present. Their connection grew not out of romance, but recognition. Challenges did not vanish just because kindness had intervened. Maria's health worsened before it improved. Ethan faced criticism from his board when news of the missing lobby tree became public. Lily struggled with fear every time her mother coughed too hard. Ethan's son began asking questions about why his father was home more often, smiling more often, listening more closely. Change is rarely neat. It asks for patience, humility, and courage. Slowly, things began to shift. Ethan used his influence not as a shield but as a bridge, connecting Maria with doctors who treated her with dignity, not pity. He rearranged his priorities, learning that being present mattered more than being perfect. Lily returned the borrowed tree, just as she promised, though by then, Ethan had already ordered dozens more for families who needed them. The lobby tree returned to its place, but it no longer felt like decoration. It felt like a reminder. By the next Christmas Eve, Ethan's life looked nothing like it once had. His home was louder, messier, warmer. Lily's laughter filled rooms that had once echoed. Maria, healthier now, baked cookies that made the whole building smell like cinnamon and hope. Ethan's son learned that strength could be gentle and that love multiplied when shared. And Ethan himself learned that the richest moments often begin with a simple, impossible request. As this story draws to a close, if it touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you of the power of kindness and the quiet miracles hiding in ordinary days, please take a moment to like this video, comment, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to Single Dad Diaries. Your engagement helps these stories reach hearts that need them most. Before we end, we have a special request for you. Please comment the line, "Kindness is the real miracle," below if you believe that even the smallest act can change a life. Let your words become part of this story too, and may this Christmas remind you that sometimes all it takes is the courage to ask and the grace to listen.